Super Sentai being the iconic franchise that it is in the East, and Power Rangers being the iconic franchise that it is in the West, it is common to see its base structuring get replicated through many ways in media. While there are 46 official Super Sentai teams at the time that I make this video, there are much more through an unofficial type of status, or what some may call a fake Super Sentai. Fake teams can embody themselves as references of the actual Super Sentai and completely unrelated properties, or they can be done by the actual makers of Super Sentai as sort of a thing that was outed from being on the official list, or they can just be flat out knockoffs. Today, just as a fun little video, I'm going to be going over and discussing examples of all three categories. Now, before we hop in, just as a little side note, I just want to say that I am not trying to criminalize quote-unquote fake Super Sentai. It is a fun thing to do and replicate. That's actually why I'm making this video, because I thought that some of the things that were brought to my attention were very fun and should be brought to the attention of the rest of the Sentai community. So without further ado, whoosh, let's go. Starting off, I put the absolute most obvious one, of course, Bakugo Ranger. Now, this is one of the ones that was by the official makers because it was made by Toei and actually has official Sentai stuff in it. However, despite being made by Toei, it is clear that it was a fake Sentai and made more as a side project because, first off, Hikonian Sentai literally means unofficial Sentai. It also aired in time slots of the real Go Busters and Kyoryuger, and when you see some of the things that the show has, you'll understand why it was kind of an unofficial fun thing. I mean, it literally has an anime girl gun as the henshin device. And while there have been comedic Sentai, this one seems to take the tone to the next level, one that wouldn't really be acceptable as an official work. This show is pretty well received, having been written by Arakawa, the same person who wrote Aba Ranger, Deca Ranger, Gokaiger, Strongest Battle, and Kira Major. Quite the good roster. Now, I personally have only seen a couple of episodes scattered throughout its 2 seasons a long time ago, but from what I saw, I definitely want to get back to it because I'm into that type of fun shit. The one I remember the most actually was an episode where Hurricane Red actually got a super form and the Go Rangers became a trio because there was this extra yellow/golden ranger. It was pretty wild, and in fact, the show does a lot of this where it takes things from the official Sentai, since they're sort of fans, I guess, of the official Sentai, and does whatever wacky shit it wants to do with them. Imagine Gokaiger, but just really weird. Okay, before anyone goes rambling in the comments, yes, I know that this is technically a semi-official sequel to Kyoryuger. You see, in South Korea, where the Super Sentai series is actually called Power Rangers, but just the dubbing of Super Sentai, Power Rangers Dino Force or Juden Sentai Kyoryuger was very successful. So successful to the point that with the permission of Toei, they ended up making a sequel series primarily made for the South Korean audience, known as Power Rangers Dino Force Brave, though it did come to Japan as Kyoryuger Brave, but a dubbed version of the South Korean footage. Now, technically this is an official piece of Kyoryuger content, but it is not yet in as an official Sentai, which is why I include it on this list. The only sequel series that was able to actually make it onto the list of Sentai shows was Sun Vulcan, but it does have the honor of being the most real thing on this list. Now, with Power Rangers Dino Force Brave comes brand new, upgraded from Kyoryuger, very nice looking with the tweaks, suits, arsenal, and mecha. Yeah, I really find this series interesting for the aesthetic and how it chose to up what Kyoryuger already has. I thought that it was done pretty nicely, although some others think that it was kind of lazy. When talking about the show itself, it's a very short 12 episodes. It has apparently all K-pop stars as its cast, which I found really interesting. And from what I'm reading of its plot, I'm not going to spoil for anyone who wants to actually watch this show or Kyoryuger itself. It seems like a very repetitive plot from what Kyoryuger already had, although has an extra charm to it that differentiates it. Back in the Wii U era, Nintendo decided to release the Paper Mario game Color Splash on the console, and despite being a more controversial game in the franchise, at least we got a pretty solid Sentai reference out of it. So everyone should know the character Toad unless you've really been living under a rock. So in this game there were a bunch of different color-coded paper toads, and basically each color formed a rescue squad, i.e. red rescue squad, blue, yellow, purple, and green, and they all had team leaders which were more distinctified toads, and basically to advertise the game and what you could do with the rescue squads to help out Paper Mario, they had a little YouTube series where they basically had all the team leaders come together and form a basically and pretty obvious fake Sentai team, literally called Rescue 5, which is kind of like a mocking of Go-Go 5. And if you think that I'm loosely connecting this all together, look at this footage of them and tell me it isn't basically trying to replicate Sentai just for the fun of things, and it isn't absolutely hilarious. There are tons of suits in Miitomo, but one of the ones that is most notable is the Hero Team suit, which comes in 8 different colors and is said to be inspired off of Sentai teams. As you can see, they're very simple and said to be inspired off of Denji Man, especially with the unofficial name of Denji Sentai Boruteji Man, which apparently is seen somewhere in the game, but I can't exactly figure out where. There's not much to talk about with these guys, but they are pretty cool nonetheless. Now, for those of you who are fans of Cartoon Network, we have a Gumball related thing coming your way. Now, in the episode known as The Guy, Anais needed help with a boy, so called for Gumball and Darwin to help, and in their imagination they turned into the Bro Squad, which is the most obvious knockoff of Bioman that I have ever seen. I mean, look at their henshin device, look at their suits, look at their poses. When I first saw this, I was so damn happy and thrilled that it was there. The Bro Squad is an awesome reference, although I don't know how the creators of Gumball ended up getting to it. Maybe they're sort of Sentai fans, or maybe they just are Sentai fans, so decided to include it. I enjoyed this Sentai the 15 seconds it lasted before we were revealed that it was just a daydream that they were having. In the Persona universe, Phoenix Ranger Featherman R is a very popular TV show and inspired off of Jetman. And basically what ends up happening and bringing us to our fake Super Sentai team of Neo Featherman is its popularity embodies itself in different costumes for characters in Persona games. Almost every single one of them actually, which are the Neo Featherman. And in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, there was an animation for Neo Featherman and even a whole theme song. You should have a listen right here. They also appeared in Persona 5 Dancing, have different weapons and mech to suit them as basically a Sentai team, and have tons of content throughout all of the Persona series. Now, we've had our fair share of laughs with everything that's been in this video so far, most of them being very fun and gags if anything. But this one is the real deal, a whole franchise that is very clearly trying to be a replica of the Super Sentai series. The series has 3 Toku installments and 1 animated installment. It's in the same universe as Armored Hero, which is specifically shown and described by the head company as inspired from Metal Heroes and Kamen Rider, and it is a Chinese show. Now, the first installment is Battle Strike Team Giant Saver, which, okay, very interesting name. It has pretty nice suits and apparently revolved around the premise of before humanity, there were seamen and dragons, and they were basically battling for control of the earth. And the team is now trying to protect the ideals of the seaman team. The next installment is called Battle Strike Team Space Deleter, and oh my god, these suits are gorgeous. Their changers are gorgeous. Their mech in the background is gorgeous. If this was a real Sentai team, its aesthetics would be #1 for me. Apparently, though, the premise revolves around thousands of years ago, aliens having taken humans hostage from each country and enslaving them, and then gamers being elected into the space deletion team, and then basically going up into space and having to fight them off. Then the third installment is Battle Strike Team Rescue Engine. And for this one, there's not much details out about it, but I tried watching it basically unsubbed, and all I can say is it has the most top tier CGI. Yeah. And then there's the animated version, which looks a lot less Sentai-like. Now, I personally thought that this entire series looked really cool. Despite seeming very noticeably cheap, the thing is, I think that there's definitely effort put behind this series, and the people who do know about Sentai are trying to make something like Sentai kind of more accessible to the Chinese public, considering a lot of them might not exactly have the best ways of getting the real Super Sentai, so this'll have to do, and I think that it's nice. And even if they do have access to the real Super Sentai, more grown-ups in colored spandex is just more fun. And there we have some of the various fake Super Sentai out there. Now, I know of much more due to research of this video, and I think that some of them will be very fun to talk about. But due to time, I think we're just gonna cut it at this for now. But I might do a part 2 later on. If you wanna see it, leave a comment below and say a fake Super Sentai you know of that you wanna see in the video so that I know exactly what to put on to please you guys. And just as a little status update for those of you who don't follow me on Twitter, I'm working on a FIS review, a third part to the canceled or scrapped Super Sentai series, and a video about Disney's Power Rangers. I also started watching my first Ultraman with Orb, and I'm loving it so far. And now there's not more to say, so bye.